Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does.
our president will get us started.
Well, welcome everyone to our annual meeting. It's our first annual meeting in 2 years, so I don't know if we can still call it that, but that's what it is. So I'm glad that everyone could join tonight and that we're all at the same Zoom link here. So today we are going to approve the minutes from our last annual meeting in the fall of 2022. The board will vote. We will read the minutes and the board will vote to approve them. Then I'm going to give a little report. Nesta and Donato are going to give the financial report. Angelica is going to give her executive director's report, which is a nice little year in review, and then hopefully we'll have some time after to chat and answer any questions. So, Angelica, do you see Christy in here yet, or how do we want to?
I do not.
I don't see her.
I am happy to read the minutes. If they're up here on the, are they going to be up on the screen?
Oh, the whole document?
Yeah.
Oh, I can pull them up.
Because I didn't pull them, but I can flip to my email if we need me to read them.
Hang on. Let me stop my screen and pull them up real quick. Hang on. Yep. One moment. Sorry about that. 1 second. Can we all see this?
Yes. I can see it.
I can see it. Sure.
All right.
So I will read the minutes and then we'll vote. Before we start, I just want to mention that we have since 2022 updated our mission, and Angelica is going to share the new mission statement with you later in the presentation. So I'm going to skip right to the meat of the minutes. The annual meeting of the Montclair History Center was held on November 9th, 2022. Presentations were made by Angelica Diggs, Executive Director, and Liz Hines, Board President. The July 2021 annual meeting minutes were approved. Liz then presented two new board members, April DeComo and Mark Porter. She thanked the private foundations and state programs, as well as the community members and donors that have kept the Montclair History Center afloat. The Schultz House was listed for sale in March 2020 after many community conversations. There has been an ongoing clean out and a room-by-room inventory to collect items for accession/deaccession, clean out, and items that will be included in the estate sale. About 60 boxes of archival materials have been transferred to the Montclair History Center offices. A local family purchased the house in August 2022 and have been working with the Historic Preservation Commission on renovating the house. Nesta Stevens, treasurer, presented financial information for the budget financial year ending June 2022. Angelica Diggs, executive director, presented the 2021-22 year in review. She welcomed new staff and also the new trustees. Ongoing programs include the Zoom History at Home series, as well as the Price of Liberty film program. Other events include the walking tours and food tours of the architecture and restaurants in the historic neighborhoods. The holiday tours, in conjunction with Essex County, are very successful, as are the candlelight tours at the Israel Crane House and historic YWCA. School field trips with the Newark Public Schools continue. Farm camp, in association with the Montclair Community Farms on the property, is always a sellout. Grant-funded projects include the Herb Garden and the Meadows through the Landsberger Foundation, digitization of quilts and 1920s film funded by the Albert P. Terhune Foundation, and an ADA grant sponsored by the New Jersey Historic Trust and the Montclair Foundation. Fundraising includes the annual herb and bulb sales, the maps of Montclair, and the dedicated bricks around the herb garden. Continuing challenges include visibility in the community and funding to maintain general operating support and staff. Respectfully submitted, Christina Mayer, Secretary. So, board, before we vote, are there any comments or corrections or discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve the 2022 annual meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thanks, Helen. Anyone want a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, just write down Helen, Betsy. All right, all those in favor of approving the 2022 annual meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed or anyone abstaining? Congratulations, we have ourselves some minutes. All right. I guess we'll run right into my report. So for those of you, I think I know everyone who's on here, but I am Liz Hines. I am the president of the Board of Trustees. So and I wanted tonight to talk about one thing that's been exciting about the past couple of years that I was just reminded of as we were reading about the Schultz House is like now we're able to finally focus back on our Orange Road site, bring our attention back there to the museum in particular, and bringing our sites more fully in line with our mission and our new strategic plan, which you're going to hear more about from Angelica in a little bit. 10 years ago, if you can believe that, we proudly unveiled our reinterpreted first floor of the Crane House in Historic Y, with the rooms showcasing all of the periods of significance of the house and all of the voices heard throughout its halls over the years. And now it's time to bring that same treatment to the second level of the house. So next slide, please. In 2023, we were awarded a $19,000 inclusive history grant from the New Jersey Historical Commission. And with that funding, we were able to hire Claudia Ocello of Museum Partners Consulting, who is actually the person who guided us through the first floor reinterpretation, to conduct research related to the second floor, specifically the history and stories of the YWCA boarders who lived here in the 1920s through, we think, about the 1950s, and the early preservation story of the individuals who moved the house to its current site and established the Montclair Historical Society, which eventually grew into the organization that we are today. So Claudia conducted research in our archives and other local repositories. She developed stories and profiles of some of the boarders. She compiled the information she discovered that will sort of lay the groundwork for next steps in the reinterpretation. The boarders lived on the second and third floors of the house. The bedrooms were set up kind of dormitory style with 3 or 4 beds. And the boarders had use of the kitchen, which was a modern kitchen that didn't make the move from Glenridge Ave, but which we have reinterpreted on our first floor now. And they had use of the dining room as well. Some of the women and girls who lived there did domestic work. Others were students at Montclair Teacher College, which is now Montclair State. And they weren't allowed to dorm at MSU due to segregation. So the Y was able to accommodate these women. A few tidbits I liked that Claudia unearthed. This one from Hortense Ridley Tate, who is the longtime YW employee who lived on site and oversaw the boarders, said, the dormitory accommodated 15 women. We had trunks on the top floor. It cost $3 per week. The housekeeper cooked food for the staff and the girls cooked their own. Such a good time they had out there in the kitchen. They had the best time sitting around the table at night. They used to have Thursday night supper together. The college girls in the South came up in the summer to earn money to continue their education. Most were hired as housekeepers, and they came back to the Y on Sundays and Thursdays on their day off for programs. So, and in the final report that Claudia put together, we got she pulled together information on some of the specific boarders. So just really interesting to sort of, learn the stories of individual women who lived there. Another neat anecdote I liked that was unattributed was talking about how the boarders looked out for one another. And it said, it was dinner time. Several of the dormitory girls were busy in the big kitchen at the rear of the house, each preparing her own meal according to the Y custom. Cassie came home tired after an unusually hard day and stopped at the kitchen door. "I'm too tired to cook tonight," she said. "I guess I'll just go straight to bed." Blanche, who was just dishing out her own supper, gave her an appraising look. "Here's your dinner," she said as she set the tray on the table, "all steaming hot and ready for you. I've made plenty tonight." So our report is, filled with just neat little anecdotes and, personal stories like that. It was really fun to read. Claudia also collected information about the transition of the house to the Montclair Historical Society, including the Y's efforts to fundraise for and build their new, more modern facility, and residents' efforts to preserve the structure, to use it as, quote, "the preservation of history, records, and relics of Montclair." Again, her report makes for some really interesting and at times uncomfortable reading, and that's the story, all of it, that we're excited to bring to light on the second floor. Next slide, please. So, exciting news, we've been awarded an additional $17,000 from the New Jersey Historical Commission for the next phase of work. So we'll work with Claudia again to actually develop a plan for reimagining the second level spaces, to tell the border and early preservation stories, as well as to create a space for rotating exhibition space that will use for collaboration with other community partners. It may also include suggestions for making the second floor spaces accessible. Right now, the only way you can get up there is via the stairs, so we have to look at, what we can do to make it more accessible for all visitors. We are actually going to kick off that work next week, and the board is very excited about it. We're going to do a walkthrough with Claudia. So exciting that it's that we're able to move forward and do more with this. Next slide. So separate from our reinterpretation work, but closely related, we actually learned earlier this year that we were one of only 32 sites to be named a New Jersey Black Heritage Site in the inaugural round of the New Jersey Black Heritage Trail Markers. The trail was created in 2022 to highlight Black heritage sites throughout the state with historical markers and a trail-like path that connects the stories of Black life and resiliency, and to showcase the many contributions of Black Americans over more than 300 years of New Jersey history. So the reason we were selected was reflection of the Y's important role in the history of Montclair's African-American community, but also its larger historical significance, an ability to reflect the broader stories of how communities and the state and the nation as a whole experienced the changes of the Great Migration, of integration, and the Civil Rights Movement. So sometime next year, we're going to get a historical marker that will tell the story of the historic YWCA, and it will include a QR code that visitors can scan for more information, including information about our special events and programming. And I just wanted to take the time now to really thank the staff who worked hard on this, and Trustee April DeComo, who also worked to draft our winning nomination. I think it's very cool that we were part of, this very small number of inaugural sites that were chosen. So those are just the things I wanted to highlight tonight. You're going to hear from Angelica in a bit about the strategic planning process that our staff and board undertook together this past year. But I wanted to highlight this particular work in my report because I feel like it showcases where we're heading and some of the physical ways that we're going to be implementing that plan over the years. So just a little teaser.
I was trying to clap and I don't know how to take that off my mute.
Yeah, I see your.
Yeah, sorry about
Constantly
that.
happy.
I saw the clap. I think
I'm
it goes
clapping
away.
throughout. I'm anticipating many clapping. I'll try. Oh, there, it went away. Okay, sorry about that.
All right, so next we're going to hear from Donato and Nesta with our financial summary.
Thank you. I'm going to start off first, and Donato will end our report. I really wanted to not just give a bunch of numbers, but I really, like you did, Liz, I wanted to tell the story of where we have come from since the year 2022 to present. We've done a lot of things to upgrade our fundings, our financials, and it really all started with the sale of the Schultz house, cleaning out the house, and deaccessioning contents. We had an estate sale. And for those of you who don't know, we netted 893,000 and change from the sale of the Schultz house. And during that time in the last year, we realized that overnight we went from borrowing from Peter to pay Paul to having an excess of cash. And we were in a great position financially to handle everything regarding our strategic plan, to look at our plant and see what needed to be done to maintain the existing collections that we have, because we are responsible for the care and maintenance of the collections that currently have on site. So one things that I have done and we've worked with is to change the formatting of our reporting. The board, really did not understand as clearly as they should have how we operated. We were using a standard industry format to do our reporting, but we're not a manufacturing company. So we took the initiative to change our account format to a nonprofit format. What that does is help the executive director and those working on the grants to mirror the 990 IRS reporting format. And it also mirrors the format that grantees are looking for, and we don't have to continually go and move numbers around and extract numbers to put them in the right categories. It also will provide income and matching expenses to the existing operations so that the board can see exactly where the money is coming in from, what expenses are allocated to that, what staff is required to support those programs. The format will also assist in preparation of all reports for that work toward our strategic plan and know how our strategic plan is being managed so that we can provide that to potential donors. So you can see that a lot of exciting things happened beginning right after the same year of the sale of the Schultz house. We had a new contract with the North Board of Education for $26,000, where we funded tours for students coming in. That increased the fall of 2023 to $42,000. And again, significantly, we're looking at an increase to $57,000 for that contract this year. And that really was significant. We still have the other 6 or 7 other schools that we provide tours for. And this has been a very, very upgrading position for us to serve in the community, because that's what some of our grantors are looking for. Our foundation and grant money increased about $20,000 from 22 to 23. And we have about additional $30,000 pending toward our foundation and grant income. One of the things that we began keeping track of that I had not put in the new QuickBooks format is our in-kind donations. These donations were supported by people in the community, our board members, and on providing services, as I've listed here, including supplies and technical equipment. And it's usually comes to about $20,000 a year. And that's $20,000 that we would have normally had to put out, but we did not. And this is another thing that donors are looking for, to see how we are supported in our grantees, for our grantees to tell us where we should be financially. Our operating shortfalls were offset by interest income, where we took the money from the Schultz house and we put it in various instruments with Wells Fargo, and Ed Jones, which we have a grantee that was donated to us, and for about $5,000, and we sold that stock. We have daily sweep accounts. All of the accounts that we maintain with Wells Fargo, every deposit that is put in is invested overnight and at whatever the going rate is to the bank that they send it to, and it goes back into our account with interest the next day. We currently looked ahead to where we should be growing financially, and we took the balance of the money. We invested it in CDs and Treasury bills. Initially, the CDs, we put in, some of them went to foreign banks, and I was concerned about the status of some of those institutions. And meeting with Matt and with Angelica, Matt Iverson, our banker, we put most of the money into Treasury bills, which are backed by the U.S. government, and I felt more comfortable doing that. We took baby steps now. We have put our money into the stock market, and our current cash balance on hand is $1,077,642. That comprises some CDs, but that are U.S. banks, Treasury bills, stocks, money markets, and other accounts, which I can provide to you if you need that under separate cover. But everything that you see listed, except for a small about $100,000 for operating expenses, is everything we have in the bank is interest bearing. So everything that you see listed, I didn't want to give you a list of all the ETFs and the T-bills, and I think that's all we have listed. But one of the things that I found that really interested me is that we have grown substantially financially, grant-wise, program-wise, and we don't have all the staff, but our staff has been very instrumental. Our executive director has been very instrumental in moving us forward into 2024. And we're not into the last quarter yet, and better things are coming. So that's my snapshot of where we are, and I'll let Donato continue with where he would like to see us moved into.
Okay, first of all, I will buy a pizza and a bottle of soda for anybody who can tell me what was wrong with that our first slide. There was something that it was in the picture.
Was that from the football collection?
If you look at the first slide, there's something.
Would you like me to go back so we can
Yeah,
play
go
this
back
game?
and see.
All right, let's play this game.
Pick it
Hold
up.
on. I put that in last minute. I thought Donato's gonna like this photo because it's from the high school football collection.
Okay,
Wow.
so read the caption and what is it? Where are we?
Ah,
Not the amphitheater.
not the
Woodman.
amphitheater.
Oh,
It's not the amphitheater because we don't play
That wouldn't
football on the
feel.
amphitheater.
Who-
Woodman.
Nesta, I owe Nesta pizza. She picked it up first? Okay, start with that. Okay.
All right.
Pizza terminal, here I come.
All right, I'll submit my corrections.
Okay. So
I'll go back.
Nesta's technically been the treasurer, and she's done great work as our bookkeeper. She's been, as you can see, she's been putting a lot of this stuff back together to identify, especially the in-kind. There's so much that goes into this that was not being done before. And now between Angelica, Nesta, Helen, and Liz, we've been kind of pushing forward with straightening all of that out. One of the things that's kind of interesting, it seems like we have a lot of money, and it's a lot more money than we've had before, but most of that can't go to operations. And as you can see, our operations have grown a lot in the years that I've been here anyway, especially the last 3 years. Especially we've had to hire educators. A lot of the money that's in the bank accounts is kind of geared toward collections. There's kind of an quasi ethical legal that you have to use so much of it for your collections. So operating is a problem we're trying to address. And there's not a lot of Angelica's great at getting grants, and she actually got a $30,000 grant last year for operations, which is rare, and hopefully we can find that again. But one of the things we're looking for is fundraising. Betsy's in charge of fundraising, and we've been talking about a whole bunch of different things. And one of the things we're trying to do is find a way to fund our operating expenses. Sponsorships would be great. So we're with all that. We're also going to do some short-term things. We're doing a Fall Fest soon. There's a bulb sale going on and all of that. We're also having a history contest at Just Jake's on November 13th. So that's going to be a competition. They're all geared to raise money and give and some awareness of who we are and what we do. But I'd like to kind of throw this out to all of our members. We need more members. If you want to bring some more members to us, and we want to try and run a gala next year, and members are invited to volunteer to help us. So that's what we're looking for. That's really all I have to say. Nesta's covered everything else. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Donato and Nesta.
Thank you both. So Angelica, you want to dive right in?
I'm up next.
Great.
All right. We had a lot of great changes that Liz and Nesta and Donato have already started to tell you about over the last year. Although they don't feel like new staff, I want to highlight some of our new staff. So a few new initiatives that we as a board and team wanted to set in place for having more access to our museums is being open every Sunday, with the exception when it's 100 degrees over the summer. We try and close during those days. So some of our new staff pictured here. On the left is Andrew, in the middle, Valerie, who many of you know, who I think has 3 different jobs with us. So we'll share
4.
more about that. 4. Sorry, 4. Thanks, Erin, for that, Erin. And Victoria as well. So they've become our visitor services associates. They work every Sunday in rotation, so that we're open and accessible so that anyone who wants to come and visit our museum can do so. We also hire teams of new educators every fall. I could not fit all their pictures on here. So we have some repeats. A lot of them tend to be college students locally at the universities, whether they're in history, humanities fields. We have some longtime ones with us now since 22 and some new who are onboarding with us. We also want to give a shout out to Valerie, who's on our Zoom tonight. Who was in a new role we developed, which was education assistant. Our field trips have just skyrocketed, and it's become a really wonderful experience for us and bring students on site. So we needed more support staff to support our education department. So thank you. And thank you to all our board and staff who work with us. It's one of the reasons I love this job is because I get to work with such amazing people who are supportive and really care. So if it wasn't for our staff and board, I don't know where we'd be. So, so that's a great segue into education and field trips. So I want to make sure I also give a shout out to Suzanne, who's on our Zoom call tonight. I feel like overnight things changed for us with field trips as well. 2020 was a hard time for a lot of museums. When I began in 2022 is when we began working with the Newark School District as well. And our staff solidified a contract with them. We serve thousands of students now. We have field trips every single day, Tuesday through Friday, starting up by October, which I'm holding my breath is only 2 weeks away. I know Suzanne is too. And almost through the end of May. It's amazing how much that has increased in just a 2-3 year period. And we are a very small organization. We are a small team. So to be able to have this down to a science, like a well-oiled machine, I think is really impressive for us. And as you saw with some of the financials, our education department has increased revenue significantly. And I should have pulled this data up, and Suzanne gave it to me once. I think our education increased by 600%, something crazy from like 2019. And it's amazing. And to see the happiness on the kids' faces as they come in and out for these field trips, that's really at the heart of what we love. And we have some new schools to us each year. Valerie and Suzanne are working hard on direct marketing to get even more students in. We have digital lesson plans that now teachers are accessing, and we're tracking that as well for classroom use. And we try and attend some local events, things like STEAM events at Edgemont. We did Read Across America at Bullock as well. I want to mention too, the farm was able to partner with us for some of our field trips, offering a farm or agricultural component to some of the history field trips that came on site as well. So it's been a really phenomenal, impressive year, and we're gearing up for a really amazing academic year this year as well. So we're excited. And these are just some of my favorite pictures representing some of our, I guess I should call them longtime educators now. They're all repeats, so they're on years 2 or 3, and they're what make these field trips special for the kids, is the energy that the youth are bringing with it. Our known, or I should say known, History at Home or virtual programs, I wanted to highlight a bit. So that was a COVID-born initiative as well, and we've maintained that by offering still programs once a month. We record them all, put them on our YouTube channel. I know the folks on this call are very familiar with them. I thought it was neat to highlight some of the out-of-state and country reach we had this year. So they're all listed there, including the West Indies and Canada. So again, for a local organization, I'm really proud of that for us. Our YouTube subscribers continues to climb. And for the History at Homes that we just did the past fiscal year, when I say fiscal year, our fiscal year is July 1 through June 30th, that it ended over this past summer. Just those videos in the past year we uploaded already have over 1,500 views. So people are accessing that content even after the fact. And it's getting noticed as well as by our grant agencies. You know, they're able to support these projects. Our History at Home series this year was underwritten by the New Jersey Council for Humanities. And that's a big deal because a lot of time and work goes into these programs, and to be able to keep them free from that funding is really important for us. We also continued our Price of Liberty series. That was an initiative that came out of the 2014 reinterpretation with the Crane House and Historic Y, to focus on films and discussions about race relations. So this year's had a bit of an environmental and activism skew to it. We're gearing up on what films we're going to offer this coming up in 2025. So stay tuned, and they'll continue to be both in person and on Zoom. We find that the hybrid model works nicely for those who would prefer to watch the film and listen to discussion from the comfort of their home. Some of my favorite things are the walking tours or bus tours that, you know, programs we bring out and do in the community. We've been doing tours of Rosedale Cemetery. I can't even count how many years. And Erin Benz, who's on this call, leads them with me. They're some of our favorite tours, I'll just be honest. And they're coming up next month. We have 2 this in October, and we're returning Mount Hebron. So Helen's actually leading that with Lizanne Renner. I don't think we've led that one since 2019. So that's really exciting if you want to check that out. We continue to offer our walk, talk, tasting tours. So those are history tours, as well as tasting at some restaurants along the way. They're popular. We do typically one seasonally. It's a nice revenue generator for us. We worked with researcher Jim Lynch, who did a really deep dive into the history of the Walnut and Label Street areas. And he piloted with us our first Walnut Street walking tour that we did last fall. So we hope to bring the back again into the roundup soon. And also, I feel like I keep saying everything pre-COVID. It probably was since 2018 or 19 that we did the Hometown History Bus Tour. So Helen Fallon, also our Board of Trustee, leads that up. It's a fast-paced 2-hour tour. It was a really great day on a nice bus throughout town. Again, some of my favorite programs that really give you a great overview of what Montclair is all about and its history. And these programs reach hundreds of people each year for our attendance. On-site public programming. So through our museum spaces, so not for field trips, but for the public, we do a lot of specialty seasonal tours for the holidays, spooky stories coming up as well in October. In addition to being open every Sunday now for self-guided, which was a new initiative, we're continuing it again this coming year for consistency. We also offer guided public tours once a month, which is more in depth that people can take advantage of, and private tours that you can book with our staff throughout the year. We've also been holding more member and donor events. We really love seeing you all, especially in person, not just on Zoom. We had a member event this past August which is really nice. We get to do some behind the scenes tours that we don't do with the regular public. So we're happy to keep offering those as well. Exhibits, again, a since COVID initiative. So the Nubian Heritage Quilters, I think have over 15 years or maybe even more have been exhibiting with us, where it was on an every other year schedule. They had not exhibited in person with us since I think 2019 as well. So this is the first year the Guild returned, which the Guild does modern and contemporary quilt and artworks for display, celebrating African American history and culture. So we're thrilled to welcome the group back in. As the leaders of that organization, Carolyn and Glendora, say to me, they feel that it's their second home. So we're always welcome to have them back to us. It obviously creates some wonderful visitation, beautiful artwork. We also had some great virtual programs that came out of it. We did create a little exhibit page that highlighted all of the quilt works and the history at home. So I threw that link in the slide there. If you feel like you want to take a picture of it, it's still live on our website so people can enjoy it. If you didn't get to see the exhibit in person. We actually, the Quilters are celebrating their 25th anniversary in 2025. So they asked if they could come back 2 years in a row. So we will again be hosting them for their anniversary this coming year. Farm camp. I'm laughing as I'm also looking at this because my year in review is actually talking about 2023 farm camp, but we actually just completed all of 2024 farm camp in August. Camp changes and morphs every year. You know, we've gone from offering half-day weeks to now full-day camp options for families. It's been a wonderful initiative in partnership with Montclair Community Farms and Rutgers Cooperative Extension for actually over 10 years now. So each year, pretty consistently, we serve over 100 campers. We bring in outside presenters, some awesome, cute animals like you see in that picture. Kids really get hands-on working with the gardens. They still do history tours with our staff and different components. It's a revenue generator for all of our organizations and also serving our mission. So we're always thrilled to continue that. Farm Camp will be back every year. So this year was also successful, as was 2023. Both were good years. Community engagement. So a little bit about what we go out and attend. We try as best we can to get to different festivals or parades that happen in town. We rotate those sometimes each year as we can staff them. We've had probably a 20+ year partnership now with Montclair Art Museum for the Build Montclair and Legos event, which is really cool. Kids build the historic sites, add the Legos, although I have to say I think the parents get more into it than the kids. And each year I'm impressed at some of the things that come out of that workshop. We have been attending the AAPI Lantern Festival. The past year, we were at Montclair's African American Heritage Festival, Pride Fest. And in 2023, as you can see on the bottom left, we actually got a float, and the Crane House paraded a mini model of it down Bloomfield Avenue. So that was really exciting for us. We will be in the parade coming up in 2025, so look for us then again too. Another key part of what we do is so much with the dedication of interns and volunteers. We have really great relationships with the local universities, particularly Montclair State, Rutgers, as well as some others. Every semester we have interns that might be helping in collections management, marketing and communications. We have some that want to just learn what it's like to work at a museum, and they do a little bit of everything with us. So we're always fortunate and excited for those students to come and work with us. We actually participate in 2 paid internship programs through Rutgers University, where the students get paid for that work they're doing with us, as well as Elevate to Even Plus, which offers paid internship opportunities for students in low-income communities. And they're just amazing students that come in, and we're happy that it makes it more accessible for people to be able to work with us in our offices here. We offer a 9/11 day of service every year, which helps with grounds cleanup. We attend career fairs, and we also have a really great partnership with Jersey Cares. Sorry if you can hear my cat in the background, but we have partnership with Jersey Cares that started up probably about 2 years ago, since we've done a lot of work with our gardens on site, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And that's really been a significant partnership with helping to get a continual group of individuals to help with maintaining and cultivating those spaces. I wanted to highlight, oops, no, I went forward on accident. Two events we did with Montclair State over the last fiscal year. We were thrilled to host with the history department a big student site visit to us, which included museum tours, archival exploration. We also had another class pictured on the bottom right who essentially took on artifacts in our collection that had no documentation, and they did extensive research to try and figure out provenance, who they were made by, for what purpose, their significance, to help increase what we can put into our own collection records about them. Their research was so phenomenal. They actually went and presented at the New Jersey Historical Commission's History Conference, and they won. So they did a really great job. We're still waiting for their final exhibit, online exhibit of all the information. But once we get that, we'll share that with the public as well. We did a lot of professional development. I push that a lot with our staff. I think it's always important. We're trained museum professionals. We all come from humanities backgrounds, museum degrees, collections management, property management, you name it. And it's important for us to go to other sites and museums and to also see what is new in interpretation, to understand how people are running their programs and events. It's important for us to attend history conferences that are put on by the state, or workshops offered, whether it's locally or farther away. So that's something we do routinely as a staff for team building and for our own learning and development, so that we can continue to improve upon what we're doing for the public. We have yet to pick our museum field trip as staff this coming year, so we're going to have to do that. Blog posts, if you have not gotten to explore them, there's a whole page on our website dedicated to blogs. These are written sometimes by staff members, board members, researchers, historians, and even interns who've worked with us. We've had some really interesting topics. Actually, one of our interns who is getting her master's in English and writing took on some research and history topics for us and really provided some interesting articles. And also Elaine Feidlin, who's on our call today, has provided some really great research for us as well. It's just a way for us to get more information out about the community, showcase often untold histories, what's hiding in our resources, not just with us, but also resources, maybe with the public library or others who have compiled history. So we do that about once a month at least. There's some kind of new topic to read. We put it on our website, but also send that out through email to the public. So it's a great resource that's been going back for years now. Again, I think a really strongly COVID initiative that it came out of as well. This partnership, I know our board's really proud of, as well as communications committee, and Helen Fallon and Mark Porter and April DeComo, we're all really proud of, is what we call the Montclair Then and Now series that you might have been noticing with Montclair Local in their news. So we've been partnering with them to provide content, whether it's Then and Now postcard series, which are also pretty cool because they have handwritten notes on the back. So I tried to pull up a fun one that we sent out for them as well. And also showcasing whether it's postcards or photographs of different spaces over time. So the top one, can someone, I hope, will tell me, not our board, maybe someone else in the audience, what location this is, since we're doing guessing games. All right, staff member?
The Hink building, right?
Yeah. So on the top left, prior to the Hink building, which you see on the top right that we know today, this was actually the location of the First Presbyterian Church, hence Church Street. Then eventually the Hink building, when a lot of development was happening in Montclair, right around the 1920s, that whole area got done over, went more from residential or community or church space to more the shopping or plaza like we know today on Church Street. And then just below is just a fun example of one of the notes written. So you'll see those come out in the Montclair Local. We also put them on our Facebook or Instagram stories as they get published once a week. It's a great way, again, to share resources, bring more awareness to what there is about Montclair history and what we can do as well. Collections and resources. I'm going to take no credit for what's written on the screen. All of this is provided by our wonderful collections manager, Erin Benz. I'm just going to relay some highlights of things we've been working on and some really cool finds over the past year. As mentioned, and also, again, there's a link up top. If you want to search and see a lot about what we do have, you can do that on our website. And we have some really exciting plans for what we'll be adding to over the coming year, which I'll get to. When the Schultz House was deaccessioned, as staff or board mentioned previously, we've been processing the Schultz family archives and collections in our space. So this has been an ongoing project. We expect to be ongoing for quite some time. Some really amazing finds relevant to the Schultz family in Montclair, but also some really amazing finds that belonged with other museums. So some of the places that we've donated to are other professional institutions listed there, amongst things like the Smithsonian or the Frick, a museum in Hungary, places in New York. We're also, I think, donated items to England. Erin, correct me if I'm wrong. So it's, we're doing our due diligence as a museum and organization to make sure if things don't fit within our collections policy, that they go to the right place where they do. And we know that they'll be preserved and shared in a proper way with the public. So that's also been part of this process with the Schultz collection as well. We continue to digitize things on our website. Many of you probably know we have a search portal online. You can look at some really great photographs and maps and postcards. We continue to do that as we get new donations to us. We continue to create what we call finding aids. So things that are not digitized that we want you to know that we have. We have a lot of finding aids listed on our website, from things like the Montclair football collection to African-American history to some of our new ones listed here, like the Optimist Club. So it just depends on what information we have and what we can create to make you aware of its contents online. And we've continued to collect donations that fit our collections policy. So some of the interesting ones are listed below. I'm going to go to the next slide. Oh, I should just point out why there's fluorescent bugs on the screen. Actually, Erin, do you want to share why there's fluorescent bugs on the screen?
I was going to stop you if you went to the next slide and be like, I don't want people to think we just have bugs. So these were found within the Schultz collection. I've had wonderful volunteers and interns the past couple of years helping organize the Schultz collection. And they came across a box that said beetles. It said Brazilian beetles, I think. And they opened it up, and lo and behold, yeah, there were Brazilian beetles in it. So we did some research. We confirmed, going into details, we have to make sure they're not endangered animals or insects. If they are, we cannot keep them, but we confirmed they are not at all endangered. They're doing totally fine. So we are able to keep them. But you may be like, why do you want to keep these beetles? Well, the box had a name on it, and we looked up the name. The only mention of that name was this person was selling beetles at the Philadelphia Centennial of 1876. And I went, oh, well, I know the Schultzes often went to these fairs and festivals. It'd be great if we could confirm he bought those beetles there. Well, again, luckily, because of the Schultz collection and the family kept everything, we found his cash book that, as Angelica just showed the picture, shows he bought the beetles at the Philadelphia Centennial. So we have a confirmation he bought them from the Philadelphia Centennial. So it's like a souvenir directly from that Centennial. So because we have the evidence and the actual beetles, I decided to keep them. So we do have the beetles still, and then we've got the cash book there. And then briefly at the bottom, I just wanted to mention the books that are on display, that picture there. Those are a couple of programs, again, from the Schultz collection. They're about this Hungarian artist that did a display in New York. It was very interesting. They were well preserved. It didn't really fit the collection. It didn't really tell us anything about the Schultzes other than they enjoyed going to art, but we kept other pieces in the archives that tell us that. So we thought this should go to a museum, and lo and behold, there's a whole museum in Hungary just on this artist, and their whole thing is collecting everything about this artist, and they didn't have these two programs. So they were very excited to add these to the collection. They made a whole press release. So that photo you see is that from their press release at their museum in Hungary, which they very nicely shared with us. So yeah.
Thank you, Erin. You can always say it much better than me. Oh, and these are just some fun photos, like from the Haynes collection we received. We received a donation of a saw, pictograms, and an 1899 new county plate, which was really cool. So that's online for some exploring of streets. Just to continue, we also do a lot of partnerships and other work behind the scenes with our archives and artifacts. So we work with organizations this past year, such as St. Luke's. We helped digitize the Montclair Ambulance Units collection, which is now online and hosted through our website. We update exhibit displays. There's a picture on the bottom right, one of which that now is a light up display that's a see-through scrim. We participate in things such as Get to Know Your Local Historical Society with state projects. We've also been undergoing the American Alliance of Museums Museum Assessment Program, which has been a very intensive program focused on our collections. It's involved a significant amount of our board as well as our staff to just assess how are we meeting our strategic goals, looking at things like storage, security, long-term planning of our collections, and how we can improve upon what we can do and focus as well. So we're nearing the end of that project, which is really exciting. We've been working on the past year. And we continue to provide research services for the public. We served over 100 individuals last year, and we onboard volunteers and interns to continuously work on projects with us. Students most often want to work on a collections internship with us through our organization. We also brought back the Research Your Home workshops, which are fielded between us, the Montclair Public Library, and the Historic Preservation Commission. It's also a great opportunity for all of us to explain how we're all different and how we serve the public differently in our capacities in Montclair, and also what resources we have for people to research information on their homes should they want to learn more. We also continue to release oral histories online. I want to give Helen Fallon another shout out for tireless hours of transcribing oral histories. As they're transcribed, we're making them available online on a monthly basis for the most part. We'll continue to roll those out until they are all available as well. So, and we still continue to conduct new oral histories as we get interest or we identify someone who really should share their story with us. So we continue to do that as well. Fundraising. Some of this has been mentioned. Our fundraisers we've done for many years now include things like our herb sale, bulb sale maps, and heritage bricks. These events are important because they support the operations income that we need to maintain ourselves as an organization. Last year, we fielded the first Fall Fest with the History Center and Montclair Community Farm. So it was a joint friend-raiser and fundraiser, I should say. It was a nice source of revenue. It also was a great way to meet a lot of new people in the community, particularly families as well. It was a great day of music, food, and fun. We have it coming up in 2 weeks. So I put in my selfless plug on the top right to please see you there on September 28th. You can buy tickets right online. So please join us. It's going to be a yearly event going forward for us in the fall. Grant funded projects. This was talked in detail with Liz as well. So we went through and completed the research phase for the second level interpretation of the Crane House and Historic Y, which will focus on the borders and the preservation story. We're excited to really dive into the exhibit design and development phase of the project coming up next. A big project we underwent as a board and staff team was the updating of our strategic project grant. I'm not going to read every bit detail because I know it's up on the screen for you there, but just to give some top highlights, it was quite a number of months of speaking individually with community members. We held roundtables, we had one-on-one calls and interviews to really just get a sense of what we can be as a resource for the Montclair community. So some of the 4 key pillars that are listed there is to be Montclair storytellers. We want to bring people together for rich programming on site and online. Really become a household name that's known as being welcoming and engaging for exploring the stories of the past and really being inclusive to making sure we're sharing all the diverse stories that make up Montclair's community. And one of the last components, which is important, that connects back to our financial report, is we want to build a sustainable and secure financial basis for our organization. We want to grow and thrive and be an essential community organization. And that's what's also really gearing us up for some additional fundraising and new programming and partnership opportunities. So we did update our mission statement. So our new mission statement is the Montclair History Center shares stories of Montclair's diverse and complex history through research, education, and programs. We connect the past with who we are today. So we officially adopted that at the end of June, and we feel it really reflects who we are as an organization and where we're moving towards. Some other projects that are shifting from last year, we've probably for a few years now have been going under our ADA site plan project. And this past year, we started to move into what we call phase one and a bidding phase, which has to do with our Clark House office and research library. We have plans to make it ADA accessible in the back. It has stopped people from being able to come in and use our resources in the research library. So we will be doing some repairing work to a retaining wall, walkways, and an ADA accessible ramp and widening of doors. So this has been a multi-year project that we've been working on. And we will be entering into the construction phase this coming year, which is exciting. The Landsberger Foundation has been amazingly generous with us. If you have not seen our meadows that have been growing by the gazebo in the back of the property, please come before the weather gets too cold. They're absolutely beautiful. Right now there's some temporary deer fencing, but you can still get in and wander through them. What used to be completely overgrown vine has now become this native and perennial pollinator space. So we're really so happy with the progress we've seen this year. We'll be continuing more work on the meadows in the coming year. We're really cultivating our gardens as well as our buildings and our sites, because this is part of our grounds and our property. And this is where the Jersey Cares volunteers have really been critical and helping us. We also receive funding to hire a horticulturist and a gardener, so we can actually get that work completed on site. We also continuously receive some generous funding from the Albert Terhune Foundation, which supports some collections and initiatives. So we improve storage, we rehoused a lot of artifacts, protecting furniture, installed water detectors, upgrading our security and artifact storage systems. So these are things we just do behind the scenes that people really don't get to see. So that's why I put in some pictures just to give you a sense. And we continue to do because, our collections are held in the public trust. So it is our job to keep them as safe and secure as possible that we can. Just some other, to understand where some of our other funding comes from, we receive operating support grants, which really go towards paying our staff and keeping the lights on. We also receive educational grant support as well as project and sponsorships for some of our programs. And the New Jersey Historic Trust Fund has been generous as well as others to help us towards that capital project regarding our ADA updates we'll be doing to the Clark House coming up. So just looking ahead, I think I mentioned probably a lot of this as I went along. We'll be moving forward with some construction. We're really excited about, bringing to life in our strategic plan, the second level reinterpretation of the museum will be a big priority for us into this coming 1 to 2 years coming up. We receive funding to actually streamline and expand our digital collections ability on our website. So over the coming year, you can expect to have additional access to materials and seeing what we actually do have as resources for the public online. So Erin will be spearheading that project with us as well. We'll continue to work on the Schultz Family Archives, continue to cultivate our gardens. We always offer robust programs, all of which we talked today, but we're also really leaning towards some new partnerships and community programming coming up to make sure that we're connecting with the community and others who maybe don't know us yet and seeing what their needs are that we can provide as a resource. And that brings us to the discussion part of our evening. And I'm going to stop my screen share. So if anyone wants to unmute and ask questions about anything we said, chat, we're here to do that.
That was a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. So if you don't have questions, that's okay. I guess I want to thank those of you who did come tonight. You are, of course, individuals we know well. So we appreciate you being here. And again, I want to thank our board and our staff. It's truly your support, while we're able to do all the things that we do. We all come to work happy. We really enjoy it. So, we really care about history.
I have a question.
Can I speak?
Hi, David. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentations. This is so amazing. And I can't believe how this organization has grown on the auspices of everybody here. I think that you are doing great jobs and really fitting into the community in multiple ways that are so important. So thank you for as somebody who's come from board meetings in both for-profit and nonprofit. It's such a lovely board meeting. I just don't want to, I don't even want to leave. I just want to go home. Thank you so much for a lovely board meeting.
Thank you, Daniel. And thank you for all your support as well. You've been a great member and donor of ours. So
I have a quick question about the AAM process. You're doing the self-assessment stuff now. Where are you in it's a very long, involved process, I know. I'm working with another group that I'm active with is going through it.
yeah.
And it's been many years in the entire process. You might tell people what it's for and what all is entailed with it and where you stand in the process.
So we are in the actually, Erin, do you want to say the correct acronym for it?
Oh, well, so it's for the collection stewardship specifically is what we're doing
Yeah.
the museum assessment program for. Yeah. Is that what you're thinking of?
Are you doing it only in that one field?
For the
Just
moment.
that one. Yeah, we felt
Okay.
they were offering this year, and this maybe changes from year to year. This is the first time we've applied to it. We've done an artifact assessment program before my time. I think it was like 2017 or 2018. So this is the first time doing it. Anyway, so this year they offered board education or collection stewardship. We thought we're doing a pretty good job with education. Yay, field trips. And our board is also fantastic. But we thought, well, collections, we can always try and improve. We don't have Smithsonian level, collection storage where, it's completely climate controlled and stuff like that. So we do the best we can, but we always want to learn what else can we do to improve. And that also includes what else can we do with our collections that better represent the communities that are here today as well. So we have like 3 main goals with this collection stewardship museum assessment program, one of which was just how can we better preserve our collections, how can we better maintain them and stuff like that. But another one was how do we make sure the community that's in Montclair today is better represented within our collection. So we just had, it's a lot of activities that are involved with this assessment program. A lot of them, like Angelica mentioned, include our board members, it includes staff. It also includes a site reviewer. So an individual from another museum through the American Alliance of Museums. She's paid through the American Alliance of Museums, hired through them, goes through a whole check, I'm sure. She came out to our site, spent 2 whole days just with us. And we showed her every nook and cranny. And it was a wonderful experience because it was a judgment-free zone. She was able to give us some ideas, just like stuff we could start with right away, but then she'll eventually give us a full report in a few weeks. She was just here 2 weeks ago now. So in a few weeks, we'll get the final full report that we can then start to make plans to implement bigger policies and stuff like that. But yeah.
So it's basically a learning experience.
Yes.
Pretty much.
With AAM assistance. That's good.
Yes.
Exactly. So yeah.
The one I was thinking of was the process where you go through self-assessment to try to become an AAM member, and that is grueling.
Oh, the accreditation.
The accreditation.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we have not we've done for smaller size the STEPS program, which we'll re-embark on again soon. But we have not gone down that road yet. Yeah.
Good. Congratulations.
Thanks, David. Well, thank you everyone for being here tonight. Appreciate you listening and
Angela, David again. I'd like to get in touch with you directly about some things, so I'll send you an email.
please do. Yep.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, as a relative newcomer, I really, really appreciate the way this meeting was run. I think it really highlighted all the things that have changed, and I really appreciate that you went back to 2022. I think that this organization, which you guys have been more around than I, but I've for 20 years at least, I've been aware of it. I think it's been really transformed now into a really good, viable museum and sharing educational system. So
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Daniel.
That's nice to hear. Yeah.
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 Because that's what we're trying to do. We're
You guys are doing a great
growing
job.
up a little bit, and
And, the financial report and the where was in, I come from I worked for many years for the Japan Society in New York, and these board meetings were so painful. But this was such a great and fairly straightforward and honest assessment of things with not a lot of grandstanding. I think it's just a really good way. You guys are really clear communicators, and that's so important for when you're talking about history. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
I think too, what's interesting is the incremental thing that we get on the monthly basis. To see it at an annual meeting is to see the accumulation of the efforts is so impressive for the team and for the staff and for us. I mean, on the board, it's just, it's impressive. And even just to see the year, but then thinking of where you've come from. Helen, how long have we been on the board? I mean,
I think it's like,
just in
I
that
think this is our 10th
time.
year.
Right.
Yeah.
In that time, it's changed
Come a long way.
so much. And
Yeah.
sometimes we forget how
Well,
it's
I
changed.
think that the pandemic forced us to do a lot of new things. Jane always said there was some silver lining to that. We talked for years about putting our walking tours on, recording them and putting them on YouTube. And it was only, when we had to and it was a ton of work. Many people here, turn their walking tours into PowerPoints, and we learned how to advance slides. And sometimes when I tell people about some of the early ones we did, I said, keep in mind, it was before we knew how to dye our own hair at home. So, so a lot of those things, like History at Home, I think was a game changer for us, and as far as raising our awareness and building our community big time. And also the digitization, has just exploded in general, and we had a board member who now works at the Library of Congress who really got us moving in that direction. And then with all the grant money that Angelica's continued to be able to get, we continue to be able to do things there. So it is really nice to see.
Yeah. Thank you all. Well, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for being here. If you want to listen to us all again, we eventually will put this on our YouTube channel. But thank you again for your support and for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Nice job.
Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Bye.